In this video, you'll be shown what to do when there are multiple correct answers at a single decision point. In this example, we have a complex sentence. Therefore, we will select the option complex at the first decision point. This leads us to the next question, which is or are the pronouns in the sentence first, second, and/or third person? How do we classify two different pronouns at the same time at the same decision point? In this sentence, the first pronoun they is in the third person, and the other pronoun I is in the first person. The software at this time doesn't permit two responses to be correct at the same time. We will show you two ways to handle this. The first way is to highlight a portion of the problem and have the students focus only on that part of the problem when answering the questions below. Later, the second part of the problem is highlighted and students respond to the same question, but this time for this second part. We will show you an example of how this is done. Let's return to the beginning of the pathway by clicking either View Path or the question mark at the first decision point. Once again, because this is a complex sentence, we will select the complex option. Because there are two correct options, we will highlight one of the two clauses. But before we do this, we must click Adapt Problem so the highlighting only shows up at this and other decision points of our choosing. Highlight one of the two clauses, select the background color option, select a color. You may need to clarify that learners are to focus on the highlighted portion of the example. To do so, add instructions like this. Note, when answering the question below, focus on the highlighted portion of the sentence. Pause the video at any point to do what you've just seen demonstrated, or just continue watching until the end. Select the correct options for the highlighted portion. This decision point is important because it makes it possible for the students to analyze another part of the problem. It reads, is there another part of the sentence that you have been asked to analyze? Pause the video and create a decision point that asks the students if there is any other part of the problem they should analyze. Once you've created this decision point, click Yes. When you get to this point, you will need to loop the Yes option back to the first pronoun question. To do this, select View Model. Here is the model. Move the model front and center on the screen by clicking the gray area above it and holding and moving the mouse upward. Increase the magnification until you find the decision point with the Yes or No option you created. Click the link choice icon coming off the Yes option. These little blue circles with a white link chain will show up. We will select the blue circle with a chain in the middle right before the first pronoun question. Notice the dotted line that extends from the Yes option to the far right to the pronoun question to the far left. This means a link has been created between the Yes option for the decision point on the far right and the initial question on the far left. Pause the video and create a loop that goes back to an earlier decision point where students will analyze another part of the problem. Click View Path to continue adapting the problem. Click the correct option for this problem again. Continue selecting options, working your way through the correct path. This decision point asks if there is any other part of the sentence that should be analyzed. Since there is another part of the sentence to analyze, we will highlight and eliminate the color on the part of the sentence we just analyzed. To do this, click Adapt, then highlight the sentence with color. Select the background color option. Click the X option to eliminate the color highlighting. Highlight the next part of the sentence to be analyzed. Click the background color icon again, selecting the highlighting color. Replace the instructions for the previous highlighted part of the sentence and direct the students to click Yes. Click Yes. When you're brought back to the earlier decision point, click Adapt Problem. Highlight and delete the previous instructions and add instructions that direct the students to answer the questions below based on the newly highlighted portion of the sentence or problem. Click on the new right answer for this highlighted portion of the sentence. Continue clicking the correct answers for this newly highlighted portion. This time, when the question comes up asking if there's another part of the sentence that should be analyzed, click No. But before we select No, we need to adapt the problem to remove the highlighting and delete any extra information. Add instructions about there being no more information to analyze and to click No. click no. If this is the endpoint, add something like submit or click to see how you did, or click done. Name the path, save. This problem has a path and is now ready to be used in an assignment for students. When the students click on this problem or their DBL assignment, they will see the problem, scenario, sentence, etc., and the first decision point. The first question asked, is this a simple or complex sentence? Students will look at the features of the problem and determine the answer. If they do not know, the instructor will provide brief instruction they can click on to determine the difference between simple and complex sentences. Based on the features of this sentence, we will choose complex sentence. The next question asks, what is the nature of the pronoun? Notice that the portion of the sentence we want learners to focus on has been highlighted. And additional instructions appear directing the students to focus on highlighted portion. Based on the instruction they receive, they choose third person. They decide that the pronoun they is a plural pronoun. When they click on this decision point that asks them if there is another part of the sentence that should be analyzed, the second part of the sentence is highlighted. Also, instruction is provided directing them to focus on the highlighted part. They click yes. They're brought back to the nature of the pronoun again, but this time for the yellow highlighted part of the sentence. This time the answer to the highlighted portion is first person, and the answer to the highlighted portion is singular for this next question. When students get to the question about if there's more to analyze in the sentence, the students are directed to click no. They click on the endpoint to see how they performed. They return to the problem, and here is an important FYI. When a problem is adaptive like this one, and the students click the correct option, they will see the content change in the upper panel. However, when they click the incorrect option, in some cases, nothing will change. Here is a second approach to deal with multiple correct options. In this second approach, to deal with multiple correct options, we break one decision point into several decision points. Here is an example. Here is the same sentence with the same first decision point. We will select complex sentence, but instead of asking if there's a first, second, or third person pronouns in the sentence, this question simply asks, how many first person pronouns are there in the sentence? In this case, the answer would be one because the first person pronoun I. The answer to this next question is none because there are no second person pronouns like you in the sentence. The answer to the next question is one because they is a third person pronoun. The answer to this next question is one because I is a singular pronoun. And the answer to this next question is one because they is a plural pronoun. In summary, these two decision points were broken up into 5 decision points in order to make it possible to handle multiple correct options without using the looping feature we used in the first approach.